Pain heals. Cheeks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
This movie follows a ragtag group of nobodies filling in during a strike to prove their worth. Yet, few viewers understand the authentic grit that happened off camera. Stepping into Shane Falco's shoes, Keanu Reeves didn't just act like a signal caller, he lived the life of one. Pro athletes joined the roster, bone-crushing collisions were authentic, and filming took place right inside a legitimate professional stadium. However, that's merely the kickoff. Between chaotic set stories and shocking lineup choices, this film hides some incredible mysteries. Let's dive into 15 mind-blowing facts about The Replacements. Starting with number 15, Keanu Reeves underwent professional-level quarterback drills. While Shane Falco's effortless play in The Replacements looks like standard Hollywood trickery, the grind fueling those highlights was anything but fake. Determined to sell every snap, Keanu Reeves prepped as if he were truly vying for a pro roster spot. Before cameras rolled, he survived a punishing camp that perfectly captured the hardship of professional athletics. DC Light, switch 25 blast, he's gone. Say again? That's a left side play, isn't it? Negative, heading right. No, it's left. For 3 weeks, he grinded under elite veteran mentors, making it clear this was no lazy rehearsal. No detail was overlooked. Picture the actor commanding the huddle, mastering play calling just like a veteran leader. He perfected taking direct snaps, drilled his 3, 5, and 7-step drops, and accurately hit receivers on specific routes. He mastered the fine art of the field goal hold while learning the volatile social dynamics of a huddle when a quarterback fails to deliver. The immersion was so deep that he basically became Shane Falco long before the director yelled action. The camp was a total grind, and a scary nerve stinger nearly derailed him, especially since he had undergone major spinal reconstruction just years earlier. Beyond the drills, he analyzed legends like John Elway to capture that elite professional charisma. He mimicked the poise and mechanics of top-tier passers to ensure every motion felt authentic. Moving to number 14, the plot drew inspiration from the 1987 strike. In 1987, professional players staged a walkout over compensation disputes and demands for better free agency rights. With the stars absent, the league panicked. Matchups faced cancellation, massive broadcast contracts were jeopardized, and the sport's future seemed uncertain. To protect their profits, owners recruited substitute players. Suddenly, individuals who never made the cut were thrust onto the national stage. Over 3 weeks, that October, these makeshift squads, composed of semi-pros, retirees, and former cuts, actually managed to keep the season alive. The Washington Redskins were decimated by the walkout, yet their substitutes went undefeated without a single regular starter returning. Surprisingly, that organization went on to claim the title that year, defeating Denver in the championship game. The film adapted this chaotic era through the fictional Sentinels, showcasing how a group of cast-offs saved a season. Many plot points were ripped directly from those real events. Specifically, the tension between the quarterbacks mirrors the historic Doug Williams and Jay Schroeder rivalry. Number 13, Gene Hackman almost walked away from the project. Back in the day, directors were dead set on landing Gene Hackman to portray the veteran mentor Jimmy McGinty, especially since the man was already a 2-time Oscar-winning icon. However, the actor wasn't sold immediately and initially passed, fearing he might repeat himself after his legendary performance as a high school basketball coach in the movie Hoosiers. Being notoriously picky, he hesitated to revisit the sports genre, but the production team kept pushing until they finally proved that McGinty was a completely different beast altogether. Instead of a screaming drill sergeant, McGinty was a thoughtful mentor focused on redemption. He offered hope to those who thought their careers were over. Look, Shane, I can't guarantee anything, but what do you say to taking a leap of faith? This unique angle hooked Hackman, convincing him to join the project. His performance grounded the movie, providing a soulful foundation that kept the story feeling genuine. By blending gravitas with comedy, his acting gave the plot a real sense of authenticity. Number 12, they filled the replacement roster with actual former athletes. The directors were obsessed with accuracy, so they went above and beyond by putting real ballers on the screen. It wasn't just for show, they wanted to impress the most hardcore fans out there. They skipped the typical stuntmen and chose guys who already understood how to run routes and deliver hits like seasoned veterans. It gave the whole production a gritty, lifelike edge. One massive talent working off-screen was Jim McMahon, the iconic quarterback who famously marched the Chicago Bears to a Super Bowl ring. McMahon stepped in as the film's expert, coaching the stars on how a true field general carries himself. However, the creative team was just getting started. Dozens of the men playing both the Sentinels and their rivals were seasoned players with years of experience. Having pros on set allowed the filmmaker to use broad, continuous shots rather than relying on jumpy edits. This gave the action an authentic atmosphere, just like a Sunday afternoon professional broadcast. High-speed collisions and perfectly executed plays brought a fresh level of intensity to the screen. At number 11, the game day wounds looked genuine because many were actually sustained on set. Like I said, the production hired seasoned ball players and stunt veterans who live for the sport. When the cameras rolled, the sequences looked legit because they were basically playing for real. Every single down was meticulously mapped out to keep the cast from getting hurt. Stunt experts teamed up with the director to design moves that mirrored authentic professional strategies. Concealed padding and clever camera work amped up the brutality while protecting the performers. Still, football is a violent game, so several minor injuries were practically unavoidable during the shoot. Ake's bruises and constant soreness were common as the crew gave their absolute best. Keanu Reeves even pushed through a grueling training camp to prepare for his lead quarterback role. He actually took some heavy contact during rehearsals to ensure he looked the part. Coming in at number 10, that rowdy bar sequence with the dancers was a last-minute script addition. That hilarious tavern sequence involving the dance routine wasn't in the first draft, it was a last-minute creative pivot. These unpolished, chaotic athletes clashed with the cheer squad in a hilarious way that actually helped reveal the true personalities of the whole replacement team. These guys weren't just long shots, they were a ragtag bunch of outsiders crashing the high-stakes party of professional football. Behind the scenes, screenwriter Vince McKeown churned out draft after draft, weaving in fresh moments that captured the squad's raw, defiant chemistry away from the gridiron. The director really doubled down on those beats, perfectly mixing high-octane sports drama with genuine laughs and character flair. From that iconic bar sequence to the legendary jailhouse dance and locker room chaos, these scenes put our favorite rejects front and center, etching them into movie history. It's that wild blend of total mayhem and brotherhood that elevates this film way beyond your average sports movie. Coming in at number 9, Keanu Reeves pushed for a much grittier vibe. While the flick is a total riot, most fans don't realize Keanu took a stone-cold serious path with his performance. Even as the rest of the cast leaned into the slapstick madness, Reeves portrayed Shane Falco with a haunting emotional weight that felt unusually deep for such a fun-loving story. To get into character, Keanu hit the turf with legit NFL coaches and veterans, obsessed with mastering the mindset and mechanics of a true quarterback instead of just playing it for laughs. For him, Falco wasn't a punchline. He was a man haunted by a devastating on-field collapse, enduring public shame and personal agony while clawing his way back to redemption. By tapping into raw feelings of rejection and resilience, Keanu infused the role with enough heart to become the film's true emotional anchor. Everything's fine, it's what's best for the squad, you know? Keanu's grounded performance perfectly counterbalanced the team's crazy stunts, making Falco feel like a living, breathing person. According to the director, Keanu was the glue that kept the heart in the story. Without his intensity, the film might have been a joke, but his straight-faced acting actually made the humor hit harder. At number 8, we have Gene Hackman's legendary poker face. He brought a level of gravitas to the set that caught everyone off guard. He treated his role as veteran coach Jimmy McGinty like a Shakespearean drama rather than a side-splitting sports romp. Hackman channeled a legit NFL head coach, disciplined, laser-focused, and fiercely protective of his roster. That wasn't just his style, it was a calculated move. He knew the story would resonate more if at least one person stayed anchored in the real world. This decision grounded the entire narrative, turning the team's wacky antics into something profound instead of just silly sight gags. You could really feel McGinty's passion for giving a shot to those forgotten players who everyone else had already written off. Hackman's vibe took over the whole production. He carried himself like a real coach, demanding that same professional drive from every actor on set. It created this brilliant tension where Hackman's stoic presence clashed with the players' loud personalities, making the jokes land with 10 times the punch. Watching him was like seeing a no-nonsense teacher trying to wrangle the rowdiest class in school. You couldn't help but crack up because of how intense he was. What on earth was that? Look, I'm the one calling the shots out there, not you. I don't run things that way. Coming in at number 7, they shot the gridiron action in an actual stadium. For maximum realism, the production took over M&T Bank Stadium, the stomping grounds of the Baltimore Ravens, to film their big game sequences. We're talking genuine locker rooms, real sidelines, massive bleachers, pro-grade lights, and a functioning scoreboard. These details captured the NFL atmosphere better than any Hollywood set ever could. To make every touchdown feel like a Sunday broadcast, the crew utilized sweeping stadium shots, epic drone angles, and camera placements that mirrored a live pro game. The cast felt that electric energy too. Keanu Reeves noted that standing under those blinding stadium lights with the roar of the crowd made him feel like he was actually quarterbacking a pro squad. That raw intensity made every scene feel massive and pulse-pounding. I told you to let Moore through, don't lay a finger on him. What? It's already 16-0. I said open the gate for him. On two, break. At number 6, they meticulously researched play calling with the pros. Beyond the stadium setting, they hired real experts to mentor the cast and crew. Former NFL star Jim McMahon was on hand to coach the actors on the nuances of quarterback communication. These pros broke down the complex lingo and codes used to bark out plays at the line of scrimmage. You know how quarterbacks yell out a jumble of colors and numbers? That's all about directing their guys while keeping the defense totally in the dark. Keanu practiced until he could bark out calls like a veteran leader. That dedication gave his performance a gritty authenticity that really grounded the whole movie. The director was a stickler for details because the film was based on the real-life 1987 NFL strike. That's exactly why they stuck to authentic terminology and expert advice. Moving to number 5, the football games were cut like high-octane action scenes. If you look closely, the frantic pacing brings a level of intensity you'd usually never find in a comedy. These matchups are edited like chaotic war zones, meant to get your adrenaline pumping. The editor utilized rapid-fire cuts and various camera angles to capture every bit of mayhem on the turf. 1 second you're watching the line of scrimmage explode, and the next, you're seeing helmets and pads collide in a bone-crunching close-up. They blended tight shots of grueling tackles with sweeping stadium vistas before diving right back into the players' faces to show their grit. They were determined to make the football look legit. Since they used actual athletes and stunt pros for the heavy lifting, the realism was through the roof. Combine that with some editing wizardry, and you got a flick that raised the bar for every football movie since. At number 4, test audiences were hungry for more romance. After the early screenings, viewers felt the love story was a bit too understated and needed more screen time. That debut leaned into explosive stunts and witty squad chemistry, leaving the love plot feeling like a total footnote. Fans hungered for extra heart, craving a visceral bond between the two stars. That outcry definitely resonated with the production team. Rather than pivoting toward a full-blown love story, the crew opted for subtle tweaks. They wove in heavy silences and longing looks, giving the relationship a much more authentic edge. Even without any cheesy gestures, these small changes went a long way. They managed to spice up the romance without losing the underdog sports vibe or the film's huge heart. Claiming the number 3 spot, Keanu Reeves actually slashed his own salary just to get Gene Hackman on board. Movie industry politics are often way more dramatic than the stories on screen. When they were casting the film, the studio was dying to get Gene Hackman for the coach role, but their modest budget made hiring an A-lister like him look like a total pipe dream. Right then, Keanu pulled off a move that's still hard to believe. Word is, he took a massive pay cut, letting the studio use his own money to get Gene Hackman on board. Some say he walked away from 90% of his check, although the actual figure stays a mystery. He did it simply because he was a massive fan of Hackman's work. He was convinced that bringing in a 2-time Academy Award winner would elevate the whole project. Turns out, he was spot on. Hackman nailed the role of the gritty yet motivational coach, turning it into a major highlight. But here's the kicker, this wasn't even the first time Keanu made such a selfless play. He previously slashed his pay on The Devil's Advocate just to clear the budget for Al Pacino. You don't often see stars put the film's quality ahead of their bank account, but Keanu is just built different. Coming in at number 2, those stadium crowds were actual people. Rather than taking the easy route with digital effects, the crew went the distance to capture a genuine gridiron vibe. It sounds wild, but those game clips featured real crowds in the bleachers. They filmed over M&T Bank Stadium where the Ravens play, which had only been open for 2 years back in 1998. Thousands of locals were recruited and paid to pack the seats, reacting to every play exactly like a Sunday afternoon crowd. To give the illusion of a sellout, the directors used some smart production magic. They'd pack people into specific sections on camera, then shuffle that same group to a new spot before the next shot. Plus, the editing team recycled footage from various perspectives to make the venue look packed to the rafters. It worked like a charm, making the action feel like a genuine pro football highlight reel. The director wouldn't settle for anything less than authentic reactions, knowing that kind of raw energy is impossible to replicate with computers. Even the background actors got sucked into the moment, screaming and losing their minds over touchdowns as if it were a real championship game. Back then, digital effects weren't advanced or cheap enough to make massive crowds look real, so using live bodies made the whole experience totally immersive. Think about being an actor with thousands of people roaring around you. No wonder the football scenes pop with so much life. Now, for number 1, the league actually turned their backs on the project. Even though it's a flick centered on pro ball, the NFL refused to give the replacements their stamp of approval. The league passed because the plot was a little too real for comfort. It followed a group of scabs during a strike, which was a direct nod to the messy labor dispute of 1987. In those days, owners hired fill-ins when the starters walked off the job, creating a massive controversy the league wasn't eager to revisit. Consequently, they wouldn't let the studio use any official logos or even their name. But the producers didn't blink. They just built an entirely fictional league from the ground up. To sidestep legal drama, the production invented the Washington Sentinels, designing every logo and uniform from the ground up specifically for the film. Even without using the NFL brand, the crew pulled off a massive feat by making the whole league feel incredibly professional and authentic. If you enjoyed this look behind the curtain, hit that like button and subscribe to catch all our upcoming celebrity stories. Have any ideas for what we should cover next? Drop a comment below. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.